The release notes for 3.8 update have recently been published, and I'm really excited to bring you a full review of the unique hybrid Protonodon. Protonodon or Protonodon? We'll see. Anyway, I'm really excited to bring you a full review. I'm going to go through its base stats, its abilities, its resistances, what creatures it's really effective against, and also those creatures that, quite frankly, it needs to run away from as soon as it sees them. So I'll go through that, and also its DNA requirements, what ingredients it needs to be created and evolved. But first of all, I'm wearing a Alien Romulus t-shirt, and of course I'm AlienNewt, and where that comes from is the second Alien film in the franchise, Aliens. And so there was a character in Alien called Newt, and I thought, for a name for YouTube, AlienNewt, that sounds cool. I love the film franchise, love the Alien films, and it seemed like a good idea. So that's a bit of an insight into why I'm called AlienNewt. Anyway, first thing, before I go any further, I need to give a shout out to 485. We're doing a collaboration where 485 is actually helping me with the visuals for my video. So the infographic slides, which I often used to create myself, 485 is actually doing those for me. We're collaborating on that, and some of you may know his work through the Omega Spawn guides that he published through his Boneyard JWA Discord server. So yeah, amazing work. Link down below in the description to his Discord server, and yeah, it's going to make a big difference, I think, to the visuals of my video. So very much looking forward to working with him further. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into Protonodon. Okay, so anyway, here we go. So Protonodon is a fierce, resilient creature. Its base stats when you create it is 4,900 health, 1,450 damage, 113 speed, 15% armor, 5% crit chance, and 125% crit damage. At level 30, you're looking at HP of 5,955, and that increases to 6,551 with that 10% enhancement. 20 boosts will get HP up to 8,933 without an enhancement. With an enhancement, you're looking at 9,827 health points. So with that 10% enhancement, so that's the top health you're going to get for Protonodon. In terms of damage, if you really want to focus on damage, it's going to peak at level 30 at 1,762. With a 10% enhancement, you're looking at 1,938. With 20 boosts from that base, you're looking at 2,643 damage, and with that 10% enhancement, that goes up to 2,908. In terms of resistances, you can see there 75% damage over time resistance, 33% rend resistance, 100% resistant to speed decreases, 100% resistant to stun, and 75% resistance to vulnerability. Okay, let's move on to its abilities. Protonodon, you'll see, has a heavy reliance on shields for its defense. 3 of the 4 primary abilities have shield elements to them. And first of all, we have this Blessed Shielded Strike that removes cloak and dodge. There's a ×1 attack, and as I said, it provides a 50% shield for 2 turns, 2 attacks, and increased healing of 33% for 2 turns. So increased healing is a new kind of ability in 3.8, I think. Certainly it looks like a new animation, as you'll see later on. Okay, moving on to second ability. This is a priority ability, Instant Fierce Rampage. Cleanses vulnerable, and then targets highest HP, breaks shields, removes taunt, bypasses armor, and does a 2x attack. So a very effective priority attack there. It does have a delay of 1 and a cooldown of 1. We've got another Blessed Shield ability, this time an impact one, which removes cloak and dodge again. Does a 1.5 times attack bypassing armor, and 50% shield for 2 turns, 4 attacks, increases healing for 33%, 2 turns, a taunt for 1 turn, and heals 100% damage stat. I think it's highly likely that this move will be Protonodon's kind of first one in battle. It has that 1.5 times attack after removing the cloak and dodge, gives a defensive shield and a heal based on the 100% damage stat, plus that 33% healing boost for 2 turns. Okay, and that becomes really relevant when you see the reactive move, which I'll come on to later. Alert group defense. So I think that the cleanse damage reduction element when in a threatened state is particularly beneficial, as Protonodon has no resistance to reduced damage, so particularly useful there. Okay, moving on to decelerating counter. I think speed reduction is pretty mute in the current meta. Most creatures have resistance to it, so I don't really see that counter being too beneficial, other than the attack element. Okay, impact on escape. Most meta creatures have resistance to swap out prevention, so again, fairly mute point, but we'll see how beneficial a lot of these are in the future slides. I'll show you in terms of which creatures are it's effective against, and which creatures do really well against Protonodon. Okay, and finally, reactive move. So at the end of the turn, if healing is increased, so you've got those moves in the Blessed Shield Strike and Blessed Shield Impact, where we talked about increased healing. So if you've got this increased healing, this reactive ability is enabled, and it increases damage by 25% for 2 turns and 2 attacks. Okay, and on to DNA requirements, and Protonodon is made up of the new epic Protoceratops, so that'll be a new creature in the game coming in 3.8, and Protonodon, which is already in the game, legendary. Those will both need to be at level 20 before you can start fusing the new unique hybrid. And then as you can see, you've also got Edmontoguanodon, Bajatosaurus that makes up Bajatonoodon, and then you've got, in terms of Edmontoguanodon, get my teeth in, that's made up of Edmontosaurus and Iguanodon. So a lot of those, hopefully you've got plenty of DNA to contribute to Protonodon, and it's just the Protoceratops that we need to build our collections of DNA to fuse Protonodons. So that's Protonodon. Is it going to be effective against the meta creatures? Well, let's first of all have a look which creatures Protonodon needs to run away from, basically. So these are very effective against Protonodon. So firstly, we've got the absorb ability. So this is Phlox. So Protonodon has no group attack, so it's I wouldn't say it's ineffective against Phlox, because it obviously has that counter attack as well, but in terms of group attack, it does not have a group attack ability. Okay, then on to affliction. So creatures that have the affliction ability, Protonodon has no resistance to affliction, so pretty much no defense against the affliction abilities of those 4 creatures there. Next up, breaking and nullifying shield. So as I said, Protonodon has dominance in terms of its defense. It relies quite heavily on shields. So all those creatures there, which are meta creatures, they can destroy, break, nullify shields. So the shield defense will be pretty ineffective against those particular creatures. Then bottom left, we've got reduced damage. So it's got Protonodon, no resistance to reduced damage. However, it does have that alert group defense ability where when it's in a threatened state, it does cleanse damage reduction. So there's a slight element of it having some resistance to that, but as a pure resistance, there is no resistance to reduction of damage. Okay, and then rend. Protonodon only has 33% resistance to rend, so most of the rend damage will come through, and those 5 creatures, meta creatures, have rend abilities. And finally, swap in, break, nullify, shield. So again, where Protonodon has that shield defense, you've got creatures who can swap in and break or nullify shields, and you've got them there: Dracolux, Thylus, Intrepidus, and Sinraptor. So top left, in terms of overall, where I see the creatures that are going to give Protonodon the biggest amount of trouble, for me, it's those 5 there. So they come up most, as you'll see, across those 6 areas that Protonodon is kind of least effective in. Right, moving on to the opposite, the kind of which kind of creatures does Protonodon do well against? And it's quite interesting. You kind of see some of the usual suspects from the previous slide in a lot of these cases. So anyway, we'll start with damage over time resistance. So Protonodon has 100% resistance to damage over time. So these 6 creatures rely quite heavily on damage over time to do damage on opponents. So Protonodon, damage over time will have 0 impact on its health points. Then moving on to armor and shields. So all these meta creatures have armor and utilize shields to reduce the damage taken. Protonodon has abilities to bypass armor and break shields. So where these creatures are using shields or armor to reduce damage, Protonodon has abilities to overcome that and optimize the damage against those creatures. Next up, we have stun. So Protonodon has 100% resistance to stun, which nullifies the impact from these 4 creatures. So very much similar to the damage over time, 100% resistance. Although Dracolux has the ability to mitigate this through its affliction ability. So obviously it can reduce the resistance that Protonodon has for damage over time and stun to have some impact there. Okay, next up, swap out prevention. So none of these meta creatures has resistance to swap out prevention. As a result, Protonodon will be able to prevent them from escaping and will perform that times 1.5 attack on escape. And then finally, we've got unable to break or nullify shields. So as I said earlier, Protonodon has uses shields quite heavily to reduce the amount of damage it takes, and Stegosaurus ungulatus has no ability to break or nullify shields, so it won't be able to do much damage against Protonodon. So I think the next thing to do, let's have a look at Protonodon in action then. So that's Protonodon. Personally, I think it's going to be a good addition to the game. I've had a lot of fun playing with it these last few days in the beta test. But what do you think from what you've seen in the video? Do you think it's going to be a good addition to the game? Is it something that you're looking forward to unlocking and leveling up? Please do let me know in the comments below. I always enjoy reading through the comments and responding. So let me know your thoughts anyway. Okay, well, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.